Welcome to Freelanceonomics, a podcast where we discuss the current realities of freelance writers and how they navigate this gig economy. The community of freelance writers today is one that is ever evolving. Speaking from personal experience, I worked as a freelance writer for the first time during this summer, which certainly piqued my interest into the community that it is today and the kind of economy that this gig functions on. To start off as a freelance writer, one should ideally have some sort of writing samples or online presence, which they can showcase to the employer or the opportunity provider in order to get hired. We have Janvi Ahuja with us here, who has her own take on the importance of having a blog on the internet today.
I've seen on Substack that there are multiple genres of writing, and they talk about topics that would probably not be discussed in mainstream media, topics that would probably face backlash and criticism. And such forums create communities that actually appreciate art, communities that build on niche topics and explore the nuances that are away from the fast paced world.
Well, I completely agree with you, Janvi, and I do feel that the blogger community today certainly has a lot to offer. And here to chat with us today is another freelance writer, Mr. Himanshu Datta. Hi, Himanshu. Please introduce yourself and tell us about your background in freelance writing.
Hi, my name is Himanshu Datta, and I'm originally from Darjeeling, and now I'm a Delhi-based freelance writer. I mostly cover travel, culture, lifestyle, and hospitality with a bit of fashion every now and then. My journey with freelance writing, it's been very on and off. So I got my first gig 2019. So a friend of my sister, and she was looking for someone to write copy for their websites where they would advertise these tour packages. She came across my Instagram. And by then, I was only in class 11. I did not have a portfolio, but I did have a pretty active Instagram account where I would share my photographs, write pretty extensive captions. So, just simply based on that, she decided to give me the gig. That sort of gave me the experience. And I remember I worked for 50 paise a word. Like, that was my first ever income. It was a short project, but then after that, the pandemic happened. So, there was almost nothing for 2 years. I graduated last summer, and then I had a full time position at Travel and Leisure India and South Asia magazine. So I was working with them full time, so I could not take up other simultaneous gigs because it was part of my contract. But then I quit my job in February 2025 this year. And by then, I had, work experience to show for. I had writing samples as well, right? So then through work, I was introduced to quite a few people in the travel and hospitality industry. So I reached out to a couple people who were looking for writers. That's how I got started. I've also been able to build some relationships with editors at other magazines. So in soon after I quit my job, I had a big breakthrough with writing for Vogue India, and then recently in I got published with The Nod. And both of these times, I had reached out to the editors and they commissioned these pieces.
So, Himanshu, how do you set your rates? And how have they evolved over time?
So, when it comes to payment and how much we make of each of these projects, it really depends what kind of writing you are doing and who you are writing for. So, whenever I do copywriting, uh, you know, my name is not mentioned anywhere with the content, right? Because it's going to be used for the website or social media for a particular brand. With these copywriting gigs, at least I give them my rates. A lot of these brands do not really have big budgets when it comes to their communications department, which includes copywriting and all the media that they outsource. Right? When it comes to magazines, they usually have a fixed budget that they commission pieces for, and it's usually either by the word or they pay per project. So it will be based on how many words your piece is, and they usually have like a standard word count as well. So for digital use, usually it's 800 to 1200 words, and for print, sometimes it goes up to 1500, but usually not more than that. Print obviously pays better, but it's also harder to crack. With digital magazines, the pay it differs again depending on the organization. There might be a difference of 2 to 4 rupees or a 6 rupee difference per word, but also a lot of these organizations pay per project. So, with the big names at least, I've been paid fairly well. But again, most of these organizations, especially since the pandemic, where reading culture has changed so much, uh, there is still a lot of scope for improving these rates for writers. Again, some of these organizations, these are big names, but they don't really have a big budget when it comes to paying for freelancers.
Himanshu, as I'm sure you're aware, AI is the current talk of the town. A lot of people are of the opinion that artificial intelligence is soon going to take over all these creative roles and job opportunities. So, according to you, how has AI impacted the kind of opportunities you get as a freelance writer?
With AI, you can already see, some brands creating ads, including photo shoots, right, which are entirely AI generated. There is a lot of talk on whether it is taking up the role of the writer. But at least in my experience and the people I've had the privilege of working with, they've really valued writers and they know what we bring to the table. Because with AI, it will only generate what it already knows. The more AI proliferates, the better people have gotten at identifying that something is AI, right? So this is when I feel like the role of the writer becomes even more important because we need a human voice, because that's what we're ultimately trying to do. Whether I'm writing copy or I'm writing article or I'm covering a particular piece of news, what I'm ultimately doing is I'm trying to tell a story, which AI can never do. And like I mentioned, people are getting really good at telling what's AI and what's not. Once something is recognized as having, being produced by artificial intelligence, it really has begun to lose its value in the current economy.
Thank you, Himanshu, for sharing your insights with us today, and we wish you the very best in your freelance journey ahead. With that, we come to the end of this episode. We learned a lot today, from payments to practice, with a mix of AI and how it can never compete, to classic human storytelling. If you liked this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And we will be here next week with a new episode.